Oh, it's been a busy day here at the cabin today, but I've got one more thing left on my list, and that's to make butter, and I wanted to bring you along. But first of all, I need a coffee break, so we're going to get this coffee started, and while it's perking, I'm going to gather my supplies, and I will meet you right back here in just a bit. Okay, I want to introduce you to my favorite piece of equipment in the kitchen probably, and that would be my Dazey Butter Churn. I actually got this from Lehman's, and I'll leave a link down below where you can go check out. They've got a lot of wonderful products, but it's just a very heavy-duty, old-time, even though it's new, old-time butter churn. So what we're going to do, this churn actually holds 3 quarts capacity-wise, actually a little bit more than 3 quarts capacity-wise, but you don't want to put more than 2 to 2.5 quarts in here to churn your butter. And the reason is it's going to incorporate air, and it's going to fill up the churn between the cream and the air. So we're just going to do 2. I could do 2.5, and I do that many times, but we're just going to do 2 today. Okay, let me set these over in the sink and I'll be right back. Let's talk about the cream. First of all, what you want to do is take your cream out about 4 hours before you want to churn, and you want it to come to room temperature, and that helps it to become butter quicker. We've experimented a little bit with that, and if we took it straight out when it was really cold, probably better than an hour of churning, maybe more, hour and a half. But we normally, if we take it out and it's at room temperature, probably between 20 and 30 minutes. So it's a big difference. So we want to make sure that our lid is on good and tight. Okay, and then we just start churning. And it's with this Dazey churn, it's very effortless. Now, as it whips up on into the process, you will notice that it does get thicker and it does get a bit harder, but that's a good thing. That means you're making progress with your cream. So while I'm churning, I wanted to talk to you about my little kitchen island. This is an antique ironing board, and I'll overlay a picture in the video so that you can see that. But the surface of it is warped, so it's not good to be used as an ironing board anymore, but I just love the charm of it, and I just couldn't part with it. So it's been in the shop for a while, and I thought about painting a welcome sign and leaning it up outside on the porch. That was kind of one of those when I get around to it kind of things. So I was looking around the other day for something that I could use for an island so I could be out in the brighter area of the cabin, so my videos are hopefully a little bit brighter. I spotted it and I thought, it's perfect. It's got the old antique charm. It works great in the cabin. It fits the decor. So here we go. It's got another purpose in life. So I'm just going to keep right on churning for a little bit, and I'll be right back. Right now we are at the whipped cream stage, and so it's gotten pretty stiff. But this also means that we are almost making butter. One thing that you can do is, if you don't have access to raw cream, raw milk, or fresh raw cream, you can certainly buy heavy whipping cream at the grocery store and use that. And if you don't have a churn, you can use a quart mason jar. I wouldn't fill it more than half full, but you can just shake to your heart's content, and you can make butter that way as well. One thing about the heavy whipping cream is you want to set it out just like you would any other cream and let it come to room temperature. So if you use a quart jar, that's going to be 2 cups of cream, is probably about as much as you'd want to put in there. I wanted to talk about my apron a little bit too. I actually purchased this at a little, what they call a mall, but it's actually, I'm sure you've seen them where they have booths that you can rent. People can rent them, vendors, and they can sell handmade goods and such as that in there. And normally I would make my own aprons, but I don't like an apron that ties around my neck and pulls on my neck. And I have been struggling to find a pattern that I liked. And this one actually ties down through here. And so I thought, well, I'm going to buy it and I can use it as a pattern and make me some more. Okay, so now that we're at the grainy stage, it's actually gotten easier to turn. So we will have butter very, very shortly. The grainy stage is actually small amounts of butter, very, very like this, maybe the size of grits or even rice grains. But they're going to start clumping together. It's not butter yet. You don't want to drain it or strain it or anything yet. It's not quite there. I love doing this. It's so, even though it's work, it's relaxing. And to know that we took something that was produced on this homestead and turned it into something usable is just very rewarding. Now, with what I'd like to do with this butter, because I have a pretty good amount of butter in the refrigerator, now I can take this butter and I can freeze it. Butter freezes very well, but I can also make ghee, and I'll show you that. This is ghee or clarified butter, and this is all I have left. So that's probably what I'm going to do with this. So once I make the butter and we rinse it and go through that process, then I'll make another video of how I make my ghee, and that is awesome stuff. What is it? Some of the kids say they call it awesome sauce. That's what ghee is. It's also known as clarified butter. Now there's some discussion as to if it's actually clarified butter, if there's a difference. Personally, I don't know of a difference. So, but it is some good stuff, but that's another video, not this one. We're getting close. Well, friends, we have butter. You can see how the thin buttermilk, let's see if you can see, and you can see the difference in how thin the milk is now. It's completely separated from the fat, which is your butter. Ooh, it's got a little bit on top. Oh, look there, there wasn't much on there, so that means that the butter clumped up really well. So I'm going to set that right there. And I wanted to show you, see if you can see that in the camera. That's our butter. Okay, so I'll be right back. So the next step after our butter has made in the churn is we're going to rinse it. So we're going to pour it in here. This is just a flour sack towel like I strain my milk with. And sometimes I will save the buttermilk, capture the buttermilk, but this time I'm not going to. I've got plenty. But what we're going to do is we're going to drain it and then we're going to rinse it. And this butter, for some reason, I don't know, just the composition of Lily's cream has got it a little bit grainy looking, but that is pure butter. So we're going to manipulate it and work it, and we're going to get the excess buttermilk out, because excess buttermilk in your butter is actually what will cause it to go bad. Okay? Now we want to rinse with really cool water, and it is wintertime, so it doesn't take the water long to cool off. And also, preferably not tap water. Well water or some type of purified water would be best because of the chlorine and other chemicals that's in tap water. So I'm going to go ahead and give this a rinse. And rinse as much of that buttermilk off as I can. Then we'll squeeze it and maybe rinse it again, and then we'll put it in a bowl and we'll work it. We're going to pick it up and give it a good squeeze. And you can see the milkiness of the water. So it needed a good rinsing. Oh, isn't that beautiful? Look. Okay, so I'm going to get my bowl, and we'll start working this butter and getting the rest of the excess buttermilk that's still in there, and get it ready to make ghee. That'll be the follow-up video. Be right back. Okay, so now that we've got this beautiful ball of butter, what I'm going to do, I have scrubbed my hands and rinsed them really well, and I'm going to work this butter because right at this moment it's so cool till the paddle is not going to work it. So I'm going to take my warm hands and work little sections of it, and you can see the buttermilk actually working out as we squeeze it. It's just beautiful. But see, it's cool in the house, so the butter is holding its shape really, really well. So it's actually working better to do it by hand than to try to do it with the paddle. And just that little section right there, you can see how much buttermilk we're getting out. And like I said before, the buttermilk is actually what will cause your butter to go sour or rancid and spoil a lot quicker, so we want to get as much of that out as possible, but it doesn't last long enough around here to go bad. Alright, so, oh yes, look, see? This is really doing better by hand. I can really get this buttermilk worked out of there much better. The warmth of my hands is actually making it more moldable and squeezable. And you can just see it just coming out. And I decided to do it in sections, in pieces, and that way I could work each piece and really get the buttermilk out of it. And after I do this, then I'll give it a rinse, and then we'll work it again. You see, it's just really dripping out, and I'm just really pleased with how this, the warmth of my hands is just making this butter workable, because it was not workable before. I actually made a batch before, and it was so hard from being so cool till I couldn't get it to work in the bowl. So this works much better. And you can just, it's almost like silly putty or Play-Doh, and you can see it's not sticking to my hands at all. Okay, so what I'm going to do is give this a rinse with some cool water, and then we'll work it some more. There really wasn't a lot because I did rinse a lot out when I rinsed it in the colander. So I'm thinking maybe one more time, and we'll be good. Now, I am going to make ghee with this butter. I keep saying that in case y'all didn't know. But I wanted to show you this process because you will probably, if you're a first timer or a beginner, you will probably want to just mold it. And see that we're really not getting much now, so I am very, very pleased with that. I think we're going to be good this one more time. Oh yeah, I think this time we'll give it a good rinse, and I think we'll be good. Okay, so we're going to drain that off. We're going to give it another quick rinse in good cool water. And I am just very pleased with the quality of this butter. Okay, so there's 3 small wads of butter. Now you could take these and you could actually wrap them or put them in a vacuum seal bag, and you could take and just put them in the freezer. Now, I did not salt this. Now, when you're working your butter, if you want to keep it for table butter and you're not going to use it for bacon, and you could divide it up. You could salt some and leave some unsalted. What you want to do is, as you're working it, I would work it a little bit thinner, sprinkle some salt and work that in there. And that's actually, when you salt it, you will find a lot more liquid will be pulled from it. But what we're going to do today, because we're making ghee, we didn't want salt, okay, because you don't want salt in your ghee. You could even take it and maybe freeze a couple of wads of butter, and then for baking, and then salt one. You can weigh it out. You could weigh it out like a quarter pound each and do it in sections like that and put in your freezer for bacon, and then salt some just for the table. Okay, there we go. Ooh. So, I'll be back with some final words. Look at this beautiful butter. What a blessing. Probably one of my favorite tasks on the homestead is making butter. Well, I want to leave you with this thought. Don't ever forget that your Heavenly Father loves you. And I'll see you right over there on the next video.